I come in nice and quiet and easy. I used to be the person that came in being the center of attention. But that was just on the outside. There was nothing on the inside. The inside, it was just depression and sadness. I just wanted to take the focus off what truly was inside. Because depression comes across different ways. You can be loud and obnoxious, or you could just be quiet and you don't want anyone to notice you. I come in humble and kind, and I let them come to me. I allow them to, or allow myself to just, let's sit down and chat, or you want to do something, or I'm very soft spoken when it comes to someone that may think that they could never achieve what I've achieved. Aggressive, but I was never always like that. I was always the little mouse in a corner on the inside. And if I could leave anyone with the message, whether you're a victim or a survivor, always be humble and kind. And everything you say it from a loving place in your heart. Say it from a place of love. And even if you speak with your people in your life right now, you have a relationship or whatever, that they're mean to you or whatnot, set boundaries, learn to communicate, and learn that when you engage, you lose.
Everyone, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter, the podcast for authors. And I'm excited because the author today, her book is now out, and we're celebrating by having her on the show. And we'll be talking about her journey as an author, her amazing new book. So much great stuff to talk about. Regina's here. Regina, welcome to Living the Next Chapter. Glad to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate being here.
Excellent. Tell everybody, Regina, where are you in this big world that we live in? Where are you?
I am in North Carolina.
Nice.
USA.
Tell us one beautiful thing about where you live. What if I came to visit? What would you be like? Oh, you have to see or do this. What is it?
The mountains.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
The mountains. As most people know, in North Carolina, well, maybe not in Canada, but North Carolina is very big. We have the ocean on the ocean side, and then 6 hours in or 7 hours in, you have the mountains on the Tennessee border.
Beautiful.
Very. And
Nice.
North Carolina has over 300 waterfalls.
Well, we have one big one called Niagara Falls, but you have a lot. So I think you beat us in quantity.
But with your big waterfalls, you have one trip. We have.
Yeah, you have a lot of traveling to do to see those. Beautiful. I love it. So let's start with your author journey. I love starting here. There was a moment in your life when being an author wasn't really in your mind or your thoughts. And now here we are with a book launched, ready to go. Tell us, go back to the beginning, way before you became an author. What was the spark for you that you're like, this is the journey I want to go on. I want to be an author.
In 2015, I had a flashback of something that happened to me when I was between the ages of 9 and 10 years old. And I was in a situation with one of my clients where my client was very, very stressed out because her little girl didn't want to go to summer camp. And the mother had no idea. And the mother asked her daughter why she didn't want to go. And the daughter just cried and said, "Mommy, don't let me go. Please, I don't want to go." And she had been going the prior years to that same place. And when my client was telling me that, my hands became very sweaty, my palms, and my heart started pounding. And I immediately had a flashback of when I didn't want to go to music lessons where I was being molested. And I asked my mother not to let me go anymore. And my mother said I had to go because she and my father had made plans for me to learn how to play an instrument. And my father would be very proud to see me play an instrument at a young age. And I kept going. And 1 year into being molested, the unthinkable happened. And after that, my life changed. And the little girl that I was intended to be just never was. So when in 2015, 40 something years later, when my client was telling me this, she was visibly upset that her daughter didn't want to go. And I became so upset, I actually terminated the session and as a massage therapist. And I said, it will probably be best that we just talk today. And because she was just upset. She didn't know where she was going to place her daughter for the summer. I was upset because I remembered when I didn't want to go to summer, music lessons.
Yeah.
So when I went home that day, I called my best friend, and it was the very first time I told anybody about my secret.
Wow.
And my best friend came to the house, and we talked, and I never told her it was me. I told her it was a little girl that I knew that lived in the island, and I was very, very upset now that I couldn't help. In my book, the little girl in 2015, I named her Madison. But I said there was something wrong. There's a reason why Madison doesn't want to go to camp this year. And something inside of me told me that children love to go places. And children will go anywhere with anyone as long as they're safe and as long as they're playing. They might miss mom and dad at night and they want to go home. But during the day, they just want to play. And my friend told me that I should write down what had happened to me and actually write a book about it. And I did. I sat down and I just wrote about 8,000 words. And then I got discouraged because I didn't know how to format the book. I didn't know how to go on, and I just never really wrote anymore. And about 3 years ago, I was at a function and I started a conversation with a woman that was there who was now a very good friend of mine. And I asked her, what do you do for a living? And she said, I am a book editor. And jokingly, I said, oh, maybe someday you can edit my book. And she said, oh, I'd like to. What did you write about? And that weekend, I went home and I looked for that old laptop that I had packed when I moved from Boston to North Carolina. And I found it. And I was able to retrieve the 8,000 word document. And that lady came over my house the following week, and I read to her what I had written. Even at that time, I told her that was a really bad dream that I had, and then I had written down my dream. And once I was done reading it, she said 2 things. She said, one thing, you get to start writing and finishing this today.
Yeah.
And the other thing she said, just cut through the chase. This was you, wasn't it? And I told her it was me. And I said I was very shameful and I was very sad, and I had been sad my whole life. All through my teenage years, all through high school and through my 20s, 30s, and 40s, I lived a life of chaos. I always had good jobs. I bought my own house in my 40s. I always did well, but just on the outside. I had a very deep-seated pain in my heart. I always hated my face, and I couldn't never bring myself to look in the mirror. I have a scar here that's from when a brutal incident happened that I cut myself here, my face, and I hated my face all those years. And I hated myself for having been the one selected to go through such horrible experiences. And when my friend told me, well, she's now my friend, she was just a woman that I met casually, and she said, you got to start today. And I'm here for you. I'm here all the way for you. You write something, you send it to me, and I'll send it back to you. It turned out that I sat down and I started writing, and the floodgates opened up. I just let it all out. I hadn't cried for 40 years, I would say. I never cried. I always kept all my emotions in. And when that happened, I would be typing, and the tears would just be coming out. And then I would send to her on an email. And she said, keep writing. Just keep writing. You're doing great. And a year went by and I had my book written. I had about 10 chapters. And at that point, when I knew that I was going to publish my book, I discovered that letting it out with the intent of helping the little girl, possibly not that little girl, but many other little girls, that if I create awareness to people in charge of raising children, that I can save these children from having things happen to them over and over again. And I had this strong desire to let that message out because I know in my heart, my mother loved me so much that if she had known why I didn't want to go, she would have saved me. But I was told by my abuser that my parents would never believe me. And if I said anything, my father would not consider me his little girl anymore or his little ladybug, because he used to call me Ladybug because I was very small and dark when I was little. And that was such a cute name. But then the preach called me Cockroach and told me that I was no ladybug. And I believed him. So when I started writing, all of that came out. I was no longer holding that alone. And my close circle, including my husband, they began to see a difference in me. I was blossoming into a person that didn't have that dark secret anymore. And my intent at the time was to create awareness for children, to keep children safe. But then all of a sudden, I helped myself. And I had a picture of myself when I was 6 years old, and I used to refer to that picture as her. And she never had a name because I knew the person I was. It wasn't the person that she was intended to be. So when I was done writing my book, I wanted to do a trailer for the book, a celebration of emotional freedom and a celebration of letting it out and healing from it, and no longer be ashamed of your face or be shameful for having been a victim. So we brainstormed and we both came up, myself and my mentor, with a scene where I actually go into that scene of the crime and I rescue myself from still being there hurting as a child.
Wow.
And when I bring my own self out of that horrible situation, there's a group of small children coming out with us, and that represents all the children that are still hurting. The inner child of us adults are still hurting so bad, and we don't know how to get rid of that pain. So one thing that I had to do was look in the mirror and tell myself that it wasn't my fault. And at that time, when I began to tell myself it wasn't my fault, I said it so many times, and I started believing it. And then when other people were reading about what I was writing and people that knew about what I was doing, they began to see the difference in me, how I was more balanced, how I was more content with who I am. And this here doesn't mean anything now. It's just part of my face. It's something that a very bad person chose to do. And I released that person from having any space or any emotions in my life. In 2017, once I started writing after the incident we're having the flashback, I made a trip to my homeland, and I went to some of the areas where I had been molested. And I was able to say, you do not rent any space in my mind or in my heart. I release you from any burden I had with you. And I'm doing this for me, not for you. I am not your judge. You need to find peace wherever you need to look. I don't know. That's not something that belongs to me anymore. At that point, I retired my victim badge. and I proudly wear my Triumph badge. Now, one thing that is very important to remember is that triggers are always on the lookout for a weak moment or a weak day, or if someone says something, you will always remember that feeling of being a victim because it's part of you. So I don't want anybody to think that I don't get the triggers, because I do. And for anyone out there that wants to write, whether it's about themselves or about whatever, I don't know, a story that they want to tell, or about whatever it is that they decide to write, fiction or nonfiction, the secret for me was to sit down and write. And then for a beginner like I was, and English is my second language, so that was even more difficult because I sometimes don't know if it's E after I or Y before E or whatever.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Hey, just write, okay? Just keep writing and let the professionals clean it up later.
Yeah.
Your idea is only your idea. No one can take that away from you.
Yeah.
So keep writing. And if someday if you don't know what to write, then don't write anything on that day. But if you are serious about writing, just every day, pick a time, morning or evening. For me, it's always morning.
Yeah.
Because my mind is clear in the morning. I don't have anything going on. Afternoon, you get distracted, you get tired, and it's not going to happen for me. So pick a time, an hour or 2 hours. I never did more than 2 hours. It was an hour to 2 hours, and I would just write, and then I would put everything back nice and neat at the desk. Don't keep anything on the desk other than your writing notes. And for me, I would always have a notebook nearby because I'd have an idea. I'd be doing a massage, and if it was a client that is a friend or someone I know really well, I said, "Oh, I had a thought," and then I would just write it down real quick. Okay, or I would text it to myself.
Yeah,
and that's how I did it. And for anyone out there that is going to read my book, I want you to take a pen and either highlight or circle or write on the side. I'd like to at some point make a work notebook for people to read along with and write their notes. But don't worry about writing on the new book, because I know me. I never like to write on my books, but I changed my ways about that. If I find something that I like, I make a note. I put a little sticky note on the page so I can go back to it for my own healing and my own future living. Because when you hurt like I was, you need constant positive affirmations for yourself. And you need to tell your brain constantly that you are good, that you are good enough, that you are wonderful. And one thing that I don't like to say, that I used to say all the time, I don't like to say I can't. Because we can do anything we want. It might not be as perfect as the next person, or may not be as perfect as you would have liked, but you can do just about anything. And if you don't do it, it's because you choose not to do it. To say I can't, it's blocking yourself from achieving things that you probably would like.
So, like, the title of my podcast is Living the Next Chapter. And I feel like that's what you're doing. You are living the next chapter throughout the process of writing the book.
Yes.
And now we're at the point where the book is in the world.
Yes.
And that's got to feel... I would feel, again, I haven't done this before. You're the expert in the room here. But I would feel nervous that this book is now out there because to this point, it's kind of been in your writings. It's been in your brain. It's been in your journey. But now people are going to be able to buy this and have it in their hands. That's exciting and I guess a little nerve-wracking. I'd be kind of like, I hope it's good. I hope it's what it's connecting with you as a reader.
Yes.
What are your big hopes for the book? Really?
I was very nervous, like about maybe a year or 2 years ago when I started doing the real thing. And I was nervous because I didn't want people to look at me and think less of me because I went through that. But that was my self-doubt speaking. Now, the only thing that I am nervous about is if people read it and they see it, but they don't believe it could happen to them. Mm. The victory.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
They read it and they say, oh, that's wonderful that it happened to her. And I don't like to say I can't. But people may say, I could never do that. I could never put myself out there for the world to see. And then you have people that say, what about the people that abused me or the people that live next door? Or it's my own father or my own stepfather or my older brother. Or it might be a little boy that somebody else abused that little boy.
Yeah.
I'm not a trained professional to advise because each person is different and you have to deal with it the way that you feel that it's safe for you. But you can write it all down and not share it with the world. You can write it all down and share it with your mind. And then when you read my book or other survivors' books, then you can come up with ideas on what you can do to possibly free yourself. I have this imaginary bubble around me. And I see everything. I notice everything. I am very aware of everything. We could put a group of women in the room and I know which ones are the ones that are not going to say anything. I know the ones that are going to hide in the corner. I know the ones that are going to make it all about themselves because they just like to be the center of attention. I can tell immediately. What scares me the most is that, let's just say this imaginary group of women, some of them, they're closed to the world. They're not going to let anything out, and they don't believe that they can do it too. And I can sit here and say, there was me. That was me. I believed that I was ugly. I believed that I would never achieve happiness. I believed that no one loved me. I believed all those things about myself.
Wow. And that's why the book's going to help. People are going to read the book. They're going to start uncovering things, and then things are going to come back to their mind. For those people that haven't been triggered yet, the way you did back in 2015 when you're talking about that, is there any way that is there anything advice you'd give people who haven't gone through this, but in a way they need to move forward? They need to go back and address these things. How do we handle those triggers? What happens in the moment? How do we move through the trigger and move forward to our survival?
For me, it was look in the mirror or have a talk with yourself and say, self, this is a trigger. That situation or what that person just said or what just happened here is a huge trigger for you. Recognize it and recognize the trigger. And from a very, very humble place in your heart, tell the trigger, not today. I have goosebumps just saying it. Not today.
Not today.
I, Regina, recognize that this is a trigger. It's not you. It's not who you are. It's not anything that you did, or better yet, you don't deserve to feel this today because of that trigger.
Wow.
That trigger does not belong to you. So sometimes we hear things, let's just say in the workplace, the supervisor or the coworker may say something that because they're having a bad day and you immediately take it to heart and you immediately think it's about you. Well, it's not. If someone says something that it's mean or rude or something that you feel that it was a personal attack, unless, of course, you did something, but then, of course, now we have a two-way communication. But if you feel like someone is attacking you because that's how you feel all the time, I felt like that all the time, that people, they don't like me, or I needed to be the center of attention to feel loved. So I needed to belong to this group and that group and this and that, and always be all over the place because I didn't know, actually looking back, I didn't know who I was. I'm much more calmer now and humble, and I could spend days by myself at home and I'm fine. But 10 years ago, not so much.
There's a battle for self-acceptance, self-identity. Like all of that is wrapped up in this as well. Any thoughts around how we can work through those things to get to the point where we truly do feel comfortable being in the same place with ourselves? Any thoughts around that?
Yes. So what I did, I read a lot of positive thinking books.
Good.
I learned how to manifest. I learned how to, what you tell yourself you are, that's what you attract. Dr. Phil had a few books out a few years back. I read all of those. Joel Steen had some books on Live Your Best Life or something like that. I read all of those. The Secret. Now you have YouTube.
Yeah.
So many videos. If you want to meditate about, or when you go to sleep, to have positive affirmations, whether it's about how you feel, how you look, or how you feel, there's unlimited numbers of videos out there to manifest for yourself. What is it that you want? And some people might say to me, well, you don't understand. What I want is not to have, I don't know, a spouse or a parent or somebody that they're just drowning me. You need to come up with ideas, and like I said, read positive books, go on YouTube, find a way to heal yourself. You will be surprised if you learn how to handle your own, how quick anyone in your life will back off. Some people say to me, well, my spouse has a narcissistic personality. How do you handle that? I said, well, that's the most difficult one of all. The narcissistic personality will always be on the lookout for fire for their fuel.
Wow.
And if you don't give him or her that fire for their fuel, they have nothing.
Interesting.
And I am here to tell you, all of you, that if you have someone, a controlling mother, or a controlling spouse, or an older sister, or an older brother, or whoever, or maybe even a supervisor, it could be anyone that has a narcissistic personality, there are two things you need to remember. One, they are never wrong. Two, it's up to you to fuel them up, because they will not act alone.
Wow.
And that, my friend, is what I have learned by going to the mirror and saying, you have retired your victim badge. You are now a proud displayer of your triumph badge, and you will not engage.
Yeah.
We have two of these and two of these.
Yeah.
And just one of these.
Right.
Be on the lookout and hear what's going around. If anyone triggers you, just remember, if you engage, you lose.
Right. You mentioned being able to be in a room with a bunch of people and being able to sense people who are struggling. for those that haven't lived this journey the way you've presented today, but they want to be a supportive, empathetic ally for people who have struggled in their life, and they want to have a little bit of what you have.
Yes.
Being able to go into a room and be able to go, that person needs somebody today.
Yes.
How can we be more empathetic? How can we be more open, welcoming, safe for people who need us? Like that person that looked at you and said, keep writing, and is this book about you?
Yes.
We need those people in our life. How can we do that better? Any ideas for us?
For me, what I do, I go nice and easy. I meet a lot of people now, and I bring myself to their level, and I let them come to me. Because if I show up, oh, it's all about me, look at me, I'm so great, look what are the things I've done, they're going to shy away even more. I come in nice and quiet and easy. I used to be the person that came in being the center of attention. But that was just on the outside. There was nothing on the inside. The inside, it was just depression and sadness. I just wanted to take the focus off who I truly was inside. Because depression comes across different ways. You can be loud and obnoxious, or you could just be quiet and you don't want anyone to notice you. I come in humble and kind, and I let them come to me. I allow them to, or I allow myself to just, let's sit down and chat, or you want to do something, or I'm very soft spoken when it comes to someone that may think that they could never achieve what I've achieved. Aggressive, but I was never always like that. I was always the little mouse in a corner on the inside. And if I could leave anyone with the message, whether you're a victim or a survivor, always be humble and kind. And everything you say it from a loving place in your heart. Say it from a place of love. And even if you speak with your people in your life right now, you have a relationship or whatever, that they're mean to you or whatnot, set boundaries, learn to communicate, and learn that when you engage, you lose.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, Regina, as far as how people can find you, remind us again the name of the book, and then also where we can reach out to you and communicate with you to have you on our podcast. If we're a podcaster, if we're looking for a great speaker to come and speak to our community around this, or to get the book, tell us how do we do all these things, please.
Sure. So LaFrancemedia.com. That's my website. So it's LA and then France like the country, media.com. On my website, you can read all about what happened to me and how I got to be here today. So LaFrancemedia.com. YouTube, Regina LaFrance. You get all the podcasts that I've done and everything is on there. Also on YouTube, Shayla book trailer. It's the video for my book, Shayla. It's the 7-minute video that we made going in and rescuing my inner child. And now the book is on Amazon. Shayla, Regina LaFrance.
Nice.
So you can get it on a Kindle in soft cover right now, and then at a later date we'll do the audio in the hardcover.
Wow, the audio is going to be very interesting.
Yes, because I'm actually going to the areas of the book that it's me talking. I'm actually going to be the one doing it.
Powerful.
Yes, and on Facebook. Also, Shayla, the public page, Shayla, the book that tells all. You can see our current posts. I intend to do a book tour. I like to travel all over. I'm going to be going to Toronto. Yes, I have 2 sisters that live in Toronto, going to be there, spending some time with them. And there's a very big Portuguese community there. I'm pretty sure I'll be making a stop in Niagara Falls.
Come on. Yes, for sure, for sure.
Yes, so you will see me. You will see me again. And as for speaking engagements, I am open and I am ready. I want more than anything, to have a group that I can say to them. And I'm not one of these people that I want to be on stage with 1 million people. I want to sit in a group and say, I know. I know. I was there. And now I learned that it wasn't my fault. And I learned to let that all go and move forward.
Wow. Regina, what a story. Like, you're going to help so many people.
That is my intent. And I have opened my heart to receive all the love and to learn how to send all the love. And that is my intent.
Good. Well, you're doing it here. So thank you for sharing your story with us. And I know there's going to be people that are going to want to reach out to you and communicate with you. And thank you for being willing and open to do that as well, to be available to people that want to speak with you and know more about your story. There's names coming to my head as you talk.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I can't wait to introduce you to so and so, because I think the two of you would be great together.
Let's create a group in the area. We can create the Regina LaFrance Niagara Falls group. And
there'll be groups everywhere.
Yes,
Regina.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Thank you.
Again, thank you for doing this. So it's so great to have you here. I would love to have you come back in the future as you continue to write.
Yes.
As things develop, big updates happen in the future. Please let me know.
Yes.
I would love to stay in touch.
Yes.
Right. And again, for all those listening, please go and support another great author with a brand new book launching. Go out, and when you buy the book, my request for everybody listening, you know this, I say this often, to leave an amazing review, detailed review of your book purchase for Regina, so that more people will find it, fall in love with the topic, the subject, and a great author. So please leave a very detailed review, and always 5 stars, because that's the most important thing. But thank you, Regina, for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Hey, well, thank you for listening. It's a new year, and we're excited to be releasing even more great episodes of Living the Next Chapter, and we want you to come along for the journey. Thank you for being here. If you know of an author that you would love to have featured on the podcast, an author that you enjoy, an author that brings you that excitement, that you would just love to hear them interviewed on this podcast, I would love to hear your suggestion for a future guest, and what would be a question or two that you would want us to ask them on your behalf. Go to livinginthenextchapter.com. There's a little speak pipe icon there. You can leave me a voice message. Tell me who should be on the show and give me some question ideas. And I'll use your request and reach out to that author and invite them on and give you full credit for the idea. livingthenextchapter.com. Would love to hear your suggestion, and thank you for listening. Catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, fellow parent. If you're anything like me, balancing screen time for our kids is a constant struggle. That's why I want to share a little secret with you, KidsPod. It's this amazing app I found that's packed with podcasts just for kids. Imagine stories, learning, and fun, all without the screen. It's been a game changer in our house, keeping my kids engaged and their imaginations running wild. And guess what? It's completely free. So download KidsPod today. Trust me, it's a decision you won't regret.